here in the world of trikedom, Revo and Evolution trikes are a big player. But there's more to the story than this handsome trike and these lovely people sitting in it and all the other trikes that are surrounding me here that I'm looking at. You guys are operating in the flight school business now. I'm Dan Johnson talking to Larry and Amy Mednick, who have been building these trikes for a long time, and that's been great. But now you're getting more involved with training people. Tell me a little bit about how that's working. Either one of you speak up.
Yeah, so I mean that's a really important part of the puzzle. Over 90% of the people that purchase an aircraft from us, or weight shift trike, do not know how to operate it. So
90%.
90%, yeah. We now about 50% are airplane pilots already, but that doesn't help them any, except we don't have to explain how to use maybe the radio and pattern. This is such a different animal that the transition time is, we tell them expect more than 10 hours and hope for less than 20 hours. So it's quite a bit of training that's going to be required, and that's to get them, to solo in their aircraft.
Now, in the FAA world, they put a number on it. I believe it's 12 hours is the minimum. But that's a minimum, just like it is for private or any of the other license categories. Rarely does anyone achieve it in that number of hours. So that's what you're talking about here a little bit?
We've done it, in fact, and we post most of our student solo as videos, which you can find on our YouTube channel. But we've had 2 people in the last year that have done it in under 10 hours. One at 8, one at 8.5 hours.
Wow.
And I've been doing this for over 20 years. I've done 4 in less than 10 hours, so it's very, very rare.
But it does happen. That says something about them, but it also says something about how you're going about it.
Yeah, so anyway, there's quite a bit of training involved, and full-time flight schools in the United States are far and few between. There's a bunch of CFIs, scattered out, but what we're finding is a lot of those guys have day jobs. A lot of those guys are retired and then do things like take cruises, or they're just not available to do the intensive
training. They got
training.
a life. They're doing other things. I get it.
So we have a program that we bring students in for 10 days. We even have accommodations at our facility.
Yeah.
We can get the whole thing done from A to Z, and if you're a pilot, you can even leave at the end of the 10 days with your weight shift control rating added on to your pilot's license.
Is that right? So I'm a fixed wing pilot. A lot of fixed wing pilots you say are coming to you. Half of the ones you're training are fixed wing pilots. So they come in, they know about throttle movements, they know about radios, they know about airport protocol and things like that you don't have to teach them then. But walk me through the process of how you make that transition for somebody.
Yep, so we have been successful doing it in 10 days, and the average is around 18 hours dual, some more, some less. And the first question we get is, well, how many hours a day can we train? I'm good to go. Let's do 4 or 5 hours a day. And it doesn't work for 2 reasons. One, the trikes are somewhat wind limited, especially for students that are low time, need to be able to think and then do, not respond to the wind.
Yeah, right.
So we're flying in the mornings and we're flying in the evenings. And then during the day, those students will come in and help us assemble wings if they like, go to Disneyland if they want to go that direction. But they stay busy during the day, and we go out for lunch every day and talk about trikes and that kind of thing. So there's a little bit in between. But in 10 days, they're flying mornings and evenings every day, and weather providing, and we've got a pretty good record of getting them done.
And so if I come in as that pilot and I pick it up pretty quickly, can I walk away with a credential?
You can, and so you need 2 CFIs, and that's where Amy comes in.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so Amy is the second CFI, and she's done quite a few proficiency checks. How does that work?
Now, first of all, when did you start flying trikes at all, Amy?
Oh my goodness.
It's not that long
that
ago.
was 2011, 10?
Maybe,
2010,
yeah.
2011,
so 12 years you went from, I don't know how this works, to I'm an instructor in
Actually, I
these
went
things.
from fixed wing pilot. I became a fixed wing pilot. I was a light sport pilot, then a private pilot. Then I got into trikes, became a light sport trike pilot. And a year ago, I became a private pilot weight shift control, and I'm a CFI. So I got them back to back. I did them in 2 days. So that was kind of crazy. Don't suggest that, but
so what do you do for the company, not just in that role, but generally? I mean, you fly these things obviously a lot. So
I also take over, like when Larry goes through the different students and stuff, and if they need some finessing or anything like that, to get them ready for the PTS standards, that's where I come in.
Okay.
And so I make sure that they can do all their turns around a point, the US turns, and all the different standards that they have to meet. And then if they need help with any kind of ground school or anything like that, I help them with the ground school and we'll like kind of walk through all of that stuff. And so I do a lot of that. But also when their aircraft comes in, usually before the students get there, but sometimes they get a little anxious to get there, understandably.
Sure.
When they show up ahead of time. But I usually do all the test flights for them because I am private rated and that'll allow me to do the test flights. So every new aircraft that we get in, I go ahead and do that, and then the students usually come in and we
Those
kind
are
of
some pretty
take over
important
that way
roles
too,
there. So.
And then I do a lot of the book work and I do all
And
of
it's
the
not by
science
choice.
stuff.
I am a sport pilot CFI, which means I'm not allowed to do the test flights.
So you
Isn't that
dumped that
ironic?
on me. Apparently I'm easier to risk
Well,
than
you
he is.
have the
He's
high-
more important.
You have the higher credential.
I do.
You got the better
I
license
do.
than he does. So.
I do.
She does. She outranks me big time.
Yeah, but I can be risked more than him. He's a little bit more important than
Well,
I
I don't
am.
know about that, but you have the credentials, so that's cool.
That's true,
Very
yeah.
good for you. So the flight school is operating and in motion now.
Yep.
Uh,
We actually have 4 full-time CFIs right
Four
now.
full-time
And we're
CFIs?
bringing on another one
Very cool.
shortly. So I'm actually working with him to get his CFI. So we're going to have 5 total in our
Cool.
school.
Excellent.
So yeah.
So I often say to people, they go, I can't find one near me. And I go, look, these things aren't gas stations. There's not one on every corner.
That's
But,
true.
but there's some great people in Florida. I mean, if you live in, I don't know, Michigan, let's say, and it's cold up there,
Oh,
come
yeah.
on down, take a vacation, and you can do all of this. You can go
Yeah.
to Disney if you want, but you can also learn all this stuff here. And yeah,
Absolutely.
you got to travel to do it. But you know what? You got to travel to go to Disney, too. You can't do that in your backyard. So what's
Sure.
wrong with this picture? Nothing. It's a great place to go. Where are you located where you do all this activity we're hearing
Well,
about?
we're actually down in Zephyr Hills, Florida, which is just northeast of Tampa. So we're about an hour and a half away from Orlando, from Universal Studios and Disney and all of that. So a lot of times somebody will come and they'll either stay in Zephyr Hills or Clearwater Beach is really close to us too. So that's where a lot of people come for the summer, or not the summer, the Easter holiday. They usually come over there. So there's a lot of stuff that you can have going on. But we're
It's a
pretty
huge
close to
vacation
Tampa.
destination
Oh,
anyway.
huge.
So
Oh,
there's
yeah.
lots of reasons to go there. And if you could combine that with learning how to fly and picking up a new machine, wow,
yeah.
pretty cool.
And also we do intro flights, so all the ladies and the kids
Oh, great.
usually
okay.
come. Not saying it's just guys, women do fly too. So I'm one of the small percentage of women that actually fly trikes and stuff. So, and one of, I think it's 5 women that are CFIs total. So that's pretty cool. So
Pretty
we're a
cool.
little tiny group and we keep trying to get more people in. So
Well, but
come
you've
fly
done-
with us.
You've done a great job for a long time. When did Evolution Trikes first form? Let's put some history on this.
2009 was Evolution Trikes, but before then, and again, still had the flight school, which was Tampa Bay Aerosport. And
Yeah.
that started right around 2002, something like that.
Okay, so you got 20 years of experience in doing flight
Oh, yeah.
instruction, basically.
Yes.
So this is not a Johnny-come-lately kind of thing at all. You're probably some of the most experienced people doing this in the country, or maybe the world, for all I know.
Yeah, I cannot believe that we're having to add a 5th flight instructor, and unfortunately, we're not looking for people to immediately just start picking up the phone and calling. We do have a backlog of people, and we're trying to get caught up. I'm hoping a 5th flight instructor is going to do the trick for us to where we can really start to accommodate people better without the wait.
Excellent. Well, yeah, I would say that's quite something to have 5 flight instructors working for you and still having to manage to keep up with it all.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
folks, if you need to go get some flight instruction, make the travel, but here's a place that'll give it to you when you get there. Not, oh, yeah, he'll be back on vacation. He'll be back from vacation in another week, so you're just standing around. That's not going to happen here, right?
Yeah, the other thing I want
that's
to
true.
mention also is a lot of times it takes more than one flight instructor to handle one student. So having
Sure.
a backup instructor and a backup aircraft is very useful. So we don't
Absolutely.
try to have 5 students at the same time. When we have the 5th flight instructor, we'll probably do 4 or 3 and just have that ability.
I assume you're talking a little bit about how personalities mesh and things like that. I used to
Yeah.
do flight instruction a long time ago, and I had a couple students that they didn't click with me.
Yep.
I handed them to somebody else, and it
And
worked.
sometimes
I've been
you're
fired.
exactly right.
I've been
Yeah.
fired.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing wrong with that because
Yeah,
it's 2
it's pretty
personalities
funny.
that you got the gears got to mesh somehow, and if they're
Well,
not,
not being able to speak differently. He'll word it one way, Wes will word it a different way, I word it a different way. We all teach the same thing, but everybody uses different language. And because of that, that allows them to be able to go, oh, now I get it. And all of a sudden, Larry's been telling them for 5 lessons, and then all of a sudden Wes will say something, or I'll say something, they're like, oh, now I get it. We're like,
so that's the
okay.
advantage of having a staff that's able and a facility that's
Yep.
capable and places
And
to
for
stay,
proficiency
aircraft.
checks.
I mean,
Yeah.
you kind of pull it all together here and doing
Yep.
that. How
really
do we?
awesome.
How are we going to find out now? Tell us how we find you on the web so that people go, you know what? I'm ready to do what you guys have been talking about. How do we find you, Larry?
Yeah, so that's going to be evolutiontrikes.com/flight-school/.
Very good. And Evolution Trikes before the / to find out about all these aircraft that you see out there.
Absolutely.
Over time, I think I've written about just about all of them. The flight school was new to me, but so glad to learn that. But you can find all that and much more about affordable aviation on BuyDanJohnson.com. Thanks for joining Larry and Amy Mednick and myself here at Sun and Fun.